Bruno, thank you so much for taking the time to come here this morning. I had a podcast with your brother, as you know, the other day, and both of you are Olympic swimmers. You swam in the same Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. We swam at the 2016 Olympics, and since we were a kid, we always been swimming together. Mm-hmm. And later in the swimming career, I went to college, high school, and after college, representing Spain, we started to swim relays together.
Did you really?
Yeah.
No, wait. When you finished college, you started doing relays, or was it before that?
Before that, a bit, but still, when you're young, the 2 years difference between my brother, it's still big.
Tell me about it. That's true. But you're taller than him. Wait,
I became taller than him.
But how old were you when you became taller than your brother?
Ooh.
When you noticed, when you said, okay, I got you by a little bit.
That was when I was like 16.
16? How did it feel?
Great. I always knew that I would be taller.
Why did you know that?
Just believing it.
Or were your foot size is bigger?
No, actually. Or we're about the same. Mm-hmm. But, when you're growing up, there's always that wall that you keep track of the height.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
The marks.
Yes.
And yeah, my parents used to do that. And I knew that when my brother was a certain age, and when I hit that age, I was a bit taller.
Oh,
so I was like, okay, I'm going to be taller than him. So there was some evidence to back that up.
Okay. Yeah. Well, see, and then again, you two look different. You took after your father. He took after his mother. Am I right? It's the other way around.
Yeah.
You look more like mom. He looks more like dad. Okay.
Yeah, we start to get that a lot. That we don't look alike.
Yeah. So yeah, I know.
Yeah, and even personality-wise, we're very different. He's very extroverted, and very good with social skills.
Right.
I was more of the, having my own world as a kid, rather than playing with everyone, which I did, but I still had this world that I was so comfortable to be in, and yeah, I wasn't getting out of that.
So you didn't have to have other people around. You were good alone.
No, I was entertaining myself all the time. Yeah. What
about now? How do you feel about
yourself? Now I learned how to be social, and I felt joy when I was talking to other people. Now I know I can learn from other people, and other people are interesting. Because before that, I wasn't interested in anyone.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's start when you were young. Okay, so I know it's just you and your brother and your mom and dad, and you spent most of your time. Were you born in Japan?
I was born in Japan. Okay. Unlike my brother, who was born in Spain.
Okay.
I was the only one in the family that was born in Japan.
Right. Yeah. But your mother's from Portugal?
In Brazil.
San Paulo. And your father's from?
Madrid, Spain.
Madrid, Spain. So they got together. They had your brother first, and they had him in Spain.
Yeah. Actually, my parents met in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, they were in Spain at some point. My mother gave birth to Miguel. That's how he was there, but only for a short time. Then they moved to Japan, and then I was born. Yes.
So Miguel was maybe a year old or something when they left, or even before then.
I think so.
Right. So, but your mother has Japanese blood.
100%.
Wait, her mother? No, wait.
Yeah, I didn't believe it too.
Wait. Her mother and father are both. I know your grandmother, who still lives with your mother.
Yeah, right? Yeah, she's in Tokyo. Yeah.
Well, they don't live together then.
Well, very close.
Very close. But your grandmother's Japanese?
She is, 100%.
But she's Brazilian Japanese.
So about 100 years ago, a lot of Japanese people went to Brazil.
I know that's right. That's right.
So she's one of those immigrants in Brazil that are 100% Japanese. Right. And there's that Japanese community in San Paulo. It's huge.
What about your grandfather?
Japanese too.
Did you ever know him?
No, I never met him because he died when my mom was 14, 15.
I see. Okay. Did your mother have siblings too?
No.
She's the only child.
Okay. And she told me that's why she wanted more than one kid.
Okay.
Because she was really close with her relatives, They basically live together. There are four brothers and sisters. And I think she saw how entertaining that was because, yeah, being alone, I think she felt lonely.
Right, right. And you're just the opposite. Being alone, you feel like you're in your own world. You don't need anybody.
And I was talking with my grandma about this, and I pushed the genes from my great grandfather. So my grandma's father, he was just like me. He would just go to the mountains, go fishing, and don't come back for 2, 3 days and come back. Like he enjoys being in nature kind of alone, and I do that. I go to solo trips alone, camping, and yeah, it's weird. That gene kind of skipped some generations and came down to me.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about, okay, well, I'm going to try to stay on a track, kind of a track.
Yeah.
So elementary school, you guys are growing up together here in Japan.
Here in Japan.
So your first language was Japanese?
Yes.
Okay. But you didn't go to just Japanese school. Didn't you go to international school as well?
I did. So kindergarten and elementary school was Japanese public school. But still, I was getting this exposure with other language because my mom being, from Brazil, speaking in Portuguese. My dad, Spanish.
What did they speak together?
Ooh. Spanish. I think
Okay.
Spanish, Portuguese.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can understand each other.
Right.
It's kind of similar.
Right.
And then, learning Japanese in school, but still like watching movies in English, right? So there's a lot of this mixture of language growing up, which I think it confused my mind a bit because I never got good at one language. I could always find this alternative language that I can use to express myself.
What was it? What was it?
Wow.
Something you made up?
No, it's Japanese and English, Japanese and Spanish. It's always mixing. So when I was in elementary school, since I was getting more exposure of Spanish, I was mixing Japanese and Spanish together. And then, so after elementary school, then I went to international school, St. Mary's International School. Then I started to learn English. That's how I started to mix in my Japanese and English, which a lot of those international kids do. We communicate like that, mixing those two together. Which, again, I think it's not the best practice to improve in one language, but it's efficient.
That's so interesting. So when you were doing that, did you think you were the only one doing it, or did you think your friends were doing the same thing?
In international school?
Well, not just your friends. Did you think your brother was doing that?
Oh, yes,
Miguel?
Definitely.
And you think he had the same feelings? You guys would talk about that?
Mm-hmm. Even when we are communicating, we were mixing languages, even now.
But you still understand everything that's being said.
Yeah.
Could it be because each language has sometimes a meaning that can't be translated?
That too, for sure. But yeah, again, sometimes you don't find that word, right? It gets stuck in the brain. You're just finding that word. And then you switch the language and you find that word, right? So that's how you kind of substitute the words when you're communicating.
Right.
Yeah.
But it has a different feel and meaning too, wouldn't it? For example, if you say feelings in English and fuinki in Japanese, it's a little bit different.
It's
right?
Different, yeah. The connotation of words, right?
Right.
Yeah, it is different. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I start to realize now, like, do I want my girlfriend to be like a foreigner or Japanese because of the communication language? And I think I communicate better romantically when I'm using English. I start to find that out more about myself. It's like, which language do I feel more comfortable in what kind of situations, right? Yeah. So I'm still discovering myself in that part.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 30. I turned
You're
30. Yeah.
Okay, my youngest just turned 30. So all of my sons are in their 30s, from 30 to 36.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It's a good
interesting
age.
time in your. One thing I can tell you, Bruno, being 70, you never stop learning. Everyone thinks there's going to be a point when you're going to know. You don't. You do the best with what you have, and you work it. But when you
Yeah.
think, see, that's why I think sometimes school can be a bit of a detriment. You get a certificate and you think you're done.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's actually one of the tickets saying that, okay, now you can continue through with the knowledge you have to continue to learn more. But that's not how it's put. You're done. I don't have to do it anymore. School is out forever. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mistake. It doesn't help us, and it confuses us as we get older.
Yeah.
You're not
I
done.
agree. I agree.
You die not knowing. You
Yeah.
still don't know.
Yeah. Once you get that certificate, it feels like you're liberated from homework, right?
Or learning anymore.
But you still do homework when you're in a job, or like you have to
Right.
learn about it. And I think, yeah, going back to the schooling system, like I enjoyed school because I was learning a lot. And once you're done, I felt bored. I really felt bored. And after college, I had 1 year of just swimming. And then I really felt that my brain was rotting.
Was rotting?
It felt like it because I wasn't getting any kind of stimulus, right? Then I realized that in my life, I think I need more of that kind of stimulus of learning. I have to always be learning about something or keeping myself occupied. Right? That's when I decided to do a master's. Yeah. So more than like learning something, I just needed something to occupy my brain because if not, I was just going crazy.
So you have your master's.
Yes, I did it when I was in Spain,
In what?
and it's freshwater ecology. Yes,
Is that where your interest really lies?
I yeah, in undergrad, so University of Michigan, I learned ecology and evolutionary biology. So very science, sciencey. And then I was always interested in this, how we were shaped to the creature that we are now, how we think too, and in the nature too. The interaction between the abiotic, the environment, and the biotic stuff, the living things. They always interact. And the evolution, yeah, since I was a kid, I was really, really interested in evolution. How
In what ways? In
organisms,
what ways? How did you think of it as a child when you were growing up? These were the times when you were going off by yourself and you're just in your own world?
yeah, reading books.
Okay, so what kind of thoughts did you have that you could share?
Ooh, I was just, as a kid, you get excited looking at pictures more than like reading books. So, reading like dinosaur books or like astronomy and, how stars were made and Earth was made, the whole history of the universe and Earth and then organisms, that got me. Like I was hooked. That's how I wanted to pursue something in that. So, learning in college and postgraduate studies. And then now, like, I wanted to do a PhD, become a scientist, but then I saw the real world, how hard it was for PhD students to become professors or, do research. I saw the reality in that, and it wasn't it wasn't what I expected. They do struggle.
No, what do you mean? How do they struggle?
Or payment
Okay,
too.
financially.
And yeah, financially, there's no guarantee that you're going to be a professor someday. The research topic is most of the times you don't get to do a research that you're really interested in because you got to pick from an option, right? What's available out there. And research, when it comes to funding, has to be something that will benefit humanity always, right? Because then who's going to pay for the research? And I saw that. For me, like learning was just pure curiosity. It wasn't this thing of helping someone, it was just a selfish curiosity that was in me since I was a kid. And now I learned that, you cannot do that. Oh, I'm like, okay, I can make this as my hobby, something that I will just research myself and, you know, just do that, money not involved. And I will work on something, job is a job kind of mentality, just do my job and live.
That makes me feel kind of sad.
Yeah, right.
No, excuse me. No, let me tell you my viewpoint on that.
Mm-hmm.
What you were saying after hearing what you had to say. I think mankind has benefited from people following their passion, regardless. You can get someone to fund it. If now, it's easier now than it ever has been. Setting up a podcast where you could be doing a video vlog about your passion and keep people involved, and you're going to find more people interested in what you're doing that would be willing to fund what you're doing. See, that's why our institution called schooling is so outdated in many ways. I think there's a couple of countries, I think it's in Norway or Sweden or something, where the kids aren't given homework. They actually are told, no, they're not given homework, and they have the highest grade average in the world because they're taught to go after their passion. If they're interested in dirt and that's it, that could mean so much to so many people. So please don't give, because you're too young to let that happen. Follow your passion. Those times when you're young, something was inside you that made you want to come inside and think more.
But it comes down to, that following your passion or job is a job. There's two different mentalities, right? And there was a time in my swimming career that I was getting paid. So right after college, I got a sponsorship. And then I was getting paid. It was a 2 years contract, but I was getting paid. What I felt was I kind of lost a bit of that enjoyment that I had with swimming just because of the fact that I was getting paid.
And the connotation with it. Now somebody owns you kind of, or expects something from you.
It's not like I did a lot of, sponsorship activity for that client, but just the fact that I was getting paid,
made you obligated.
It's all psychological.
Yeah. It made you obligated in a way that you don't want to be. Right.
That's why. So after that sponsorship, there was a phase, 2-3 years phase, that I trained myself. No coach, no one. Just trained myself, managed everything, all the trainings. And I was really, really happy. It's, again, creating my own world, right? This childhood. I always had this vision of, when you're reading comics, there's this character that goes to the woods and train by himself for like a few years and comes back like very strong. I thought that was really cool when I was a kid. I wanted to do the same exact thing. And I did it, and I got some results. I broke some national records doing that. And yeah, no money was involved. I was using my savings, but still, I was very, very happy, and I don't regret it. So now, when I'm working in this real world, okay, do I want to get paid for my passion, or just have a job that will pay well? And still, I don't have an answer for that. I'm still finding it, but it's a process. And now you're saying, follow the passion. There's some people that say the other.
That's true. But
I started my full-time job last year, right? It's a completely new lifestyle that I started to live. So then I started to think about it. It's like, oh, this is very different than what I was used to before.
In a good way or a bad way? Okay.
Yeah,
so you can leave that alone.
I haven't had the good and bad, but just different.
Just
right?
different, okay.
But I would say much less enjoyable.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's how you felt the sadness, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because what I do right now, my job, is very different from ecology or biology, evolution. Very different.
What is your job now?
It's a company that runs data centers across the world. So it's very IT-based, digital infrastructure, which is something completely new.
And to you?
To me,
I see.
Yes, considering my educational background.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to learn about these things. And it's like, okay, because digital infrastructure is what supports the internet. So how internet works, how cloud system works, how data server works, all the company has to use that service. And now I'm starting to learn that it's like, wow, this world exists. It's like I never had an idea of how things like internet works. And now I'm just like grasping how that's working. it's interesting. It's opening new doors, right? This whole new world. So there's that excitement as well that I didn't expect because I was enjoying my life before with the world that I only knew. Now with this new job, it's kind of opening a new world. So I look optimistically about that. But deep inside, okay, just simply, am I happy or not? Then I'm less happy than before. That's the answer. And I cannot lie to that. That's like genuine bottom heart feeling. Yeah.
You're gonna love the podcast I just did with a young lady that wanted to become an astronaut.
Mm.
She said she went to Todai,
Yeah.
graduated in engineering, mechanical engineering, because they have to know rockets and rocket ships. She wasn't interested in that. She's interested in the stars and everything else. But the reason why she completed her Todai education was because the obligation of the city she came from, the first from Guma to get a Todai, go to Todai, her parents who didn't know she was even applying for it, and she got in. She did all that, but now she stopped. She took another job with MITI. MITI, I think, is Ministry of, I can't remember,
Okay.
but MITI. Yeah. And it's a governmental organization. It's kind of like the chamber. And she said that she did that, I think, for less than a year, and she stopped. She said, because I don't like it. She said, if it doesn't vibrate right, it's best to stop. And she's 25, and she said she has learned. She was also in Miss Universe.
Oh, wow.
So she's a nice-looking young lady. And she said that taught her that, because she always wanted to put on makeup. She always wanted to learn how to make her facial structure look right, how to put on clothes that fit her properly. And she sat like this the whole time, looked very good.
Yeah.
So her experience, that's why I say these podcasts are interesting. If you hear her talk from her heart about what she said, I'm just 25, but I learned if I don't stop. But she still likes, she wants to be an astronaut, but not for the reasons they push something different than what you want. Kind of like what you said about becoming, getting your PhD, a scientist.
Yeah.
But why don't you? Now you can do your own and create something completely different and give other people options that they never thought they'd have. How many people are feeling the way you feel, you think? That have gotten through their degree, got up there and realized, hey, you mean, let me tell you something I think is silly to me. Have you ever seen America Has Talent?
Yeah.
That's so nonsensical to me. You know why? Why should someone that has a voice like some of these people have are talented let four people behind there try to judge them when they could go on YouTube and clean up?
Yeah, true.
Well, that does not make sense in front of that few audience and let them tell me if I'm good or not. I might have a voice that sounds like Mick Jagger's. They hate, but the world would love.
Yeah.
I'd rather go with the world and find my niche. It doesn't have to be that big. If 1 million people like you and 1 million people give you $1, how much will you have? $1 million. And if they keep on giving it to you, so come on. And you don't need to have that much. It's on loan. What are you doing with it? Where are you going to take that energy? How are you going to utilize it? Not everybody wants to have a plane or a Lamborghini, a Ferrari. Some people just want to go in the forest, chill for a month, not have to worry about what's going to maintain them. How much does that cost?
Yeah, cheap.
You see? And what you might come out as a result of that could be phenomenal for the world. Because not everybody wants to go out in the forest for a month.
Yeah. Who's going to fund for that?
That's what you find out. That's why you use AI. Find out. Be excited about it. There's people that are going to like just the fact that you're bold enough to do that. You want to. People fund people walking across the United States or around the world. And who's that benefit? Who's that benefiting? Or ride a motorcycle or jump off a tall building or something? Come on. You're talking about really going after a passion. People love seeing people with passion. It doesn't really matter much what it is, as long as it doesn't harm other people. And it can possibly help the world somehow. You can have that in the back of your mind. You might come across the discovery for something that people never thought about.
But don't you think now what you're doing Did you find joy in sharing to other people the experience? Do you find that? Yeah. What I learned for myself is sometimes when I keep it to myself, I enjoy it more. It keeps everything within myself. Like that's why I do solo trips. It's because I get this connection with the world, the nature. It's very private. I can do a trip with my friends, the same thing, but there's something lost there. I don't feel the same way, the same connection with the world. And when you want to monetize my experience, I gotta share. Again, you gotta live stream it or something. And that's when some of that joy could be taken out. That's what I've been thinking. Yeah. So I'm okay with just keeping keeping everything for myself, all the experiences, kind of enjoy it. Because when I had those trips, experiences, I still remember like very vividly in my heart. When I'm having a tough day, going through a hard time, I always go back to that. Yeah. And that's not money. It's it's really the safe spot in my mind that makes you feel that you're just glad that you're alive. Like you're very thankful for everything in the world. And I love that. That's why now I'm kind of reaching to the, not conclusion, but in the state of just doing my job with the money earned. I will have those experiences very private to me, not monetize it, anything. And just build that experiences in myself. So when I'm done with this life, I have those in me.
Are you
Yeah.
thinking about having? Are you thinking about creating a family?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to change.
Yeah,
That's going to change a whole lot of things.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And you're talking about a connection in live streaming. That's 24/7. Like you have them.
All right.
So I
Yeah.
mean, there's other things you could think about. There's the compromises. This world, by the fact that you're in this thing we call a body, you have to compromise. You have to compromise. You have to eat. You have to eat.
Yeah.
You must
Of course.
defecate. You have to do all those things, right? And you have to do one more thing. You have to die.
Mm-hmm.
So in between that time and those compromises, you can create things. So let's say, for example, you have your private time. So like yourself, I usually take my motorcycle trips around Japan every year by myself. Last year, first time I took two guys, I went with two other guys, and still haven't done their video because it doesn't seem the way but I will do it. I'll do the video. I like that time alone too. I don't listen to music. I listen to the engine. I wish it was electric because I don't even like hearing the engine anymore. I want that feel. I like the risk that it could take that I could be out of here.
Yeah.
It could be a squirrel running across the street, or something. Or I like. It makes me appreciate the fact that I'm taking a risk that I don't have to.
Mm-hmm. I think I know what you
know
feel
what I mean?
when you're in the motorcycle. It's the focus and like being in the moment.
Yes.
Recently, I biked around with my bicycle around Shikoku, just like camping and biking.
I did that on my motorcycle by myself.
Yeah.
It took me 2 days. I did the northern part in a circle. I only did next time I'm going between, and then I did the lower half.
Nice. Yeah, it's so nice. I know what you feel like. It's just you and the road and everything else. It's this whole other world that you're experiencing that you don't get in the daily life. It has to be something out of the daily life.
There's something, Bruno, I think both of us have in common. People think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. I'm an introvert. And you'll find people that usually are really good at something they do are sometimes the opposite of it. They've had to push themselves to do it. I wanted to have 4 kids. I wanted to be a good father. I wanted to be wealthy because I wasn't good at school. And when I asked my teacher in junior high school, is it possible to be successful even if you're not good at school? He said yes, and then he went on to say other stuff, but all I heard was yes. All I heard was yes. And then I start realizing, if you win the lottery, people will start thinking you're a genius. They'll ask you on TV shows and how'd you feel, and just because you won the thing that most people try to chase after.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you start setting what it is that makes you feel wealthy. It's this. It's the ability to talk to other people about your passions, sharing it. We're very social creatures. I like my trips alone because I get to meet people I've never met on my terms.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
That,
talking
that
about?
happens to,
See,
yeah, I love it.
that makes you feel so good. And you talk and you get, and it can be a day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay because I set that up. And if they invite me over, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And then I give them gifts and they feel so obligated. I always carry a little gifts with me for everybody when I go on my trip. I'm making stories.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't make stories with their life. Make the kind of stories you want to make. This is a story. I'm enjoying talking with you more than you are talking to me probably. Because I see you at your age, you're 30, you've been on this planet for 3 decades. The first 5 years don't really count. So I think that you coming through this experience and this thought at this time, there's a reason you had to come in here. And it wasn't so much for the podcast, it's you to realize you have hope. And don't give up on it. Don't. When I say passion, sometimes people take that as a negative. No. Learn to become passionate about it, or at least learn how to express that, and you will start to become. Like you said, you're learning about computers in a way you never thought about before. It's kind of like the microorganisms and how we came together. Mm-hmm. It's just more man-controlled. But it still comes from Earth. Bruno, a question I like to ask at the end of the podcast. If you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, and talk to the younger Bruno, what time would you go back to, and what advice would you give him? It might be hard because you're only 30.
Yeah.
Or maybe I could ask you, what are your plans for the future? What are you thinking about doing in the future?
For the future. First question.
You like that?
I won't tell anything. I think the younger me did everything right. I don't regret any bit of it. Yeah. Maybe I will have those regrettable moments in the future, but let's wait for that. But yeah, the younger me did everything he could. So that's the answer for the first question. Second question, the future, what I expect. You brought up the family stuff, right? And I kind of imagine my life as a book. The first chapter was very swimming oriented. That was me as a swimmer. I ended that chapter, closing it. That's why I wanted to do something very different from swimming. And now I wanted to become what the Japanese call the sararima, right? I want to experience that. That's why I'm doing the job right now. And I knew that there could be some struggles mentally, which I am experiencing right now, talking to you. But also the goal now is, I want a family, have a girlfriend, a wife that I love. I want to be a good father. I really want to be a good father. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now. Let's see how it goes. But after that, I don't plan stuff, to be honest. I don't see myself in my 70 being like this. I still don't have that vision. But one thing that I would like is to be closer to nature. You, before this interview, you're talking about your son. You wanted your son to come back to Tokyo because it's such a nice city. For me, so I grew up in Tokyo, born and raised. I still have this lack of nature. I went to the US, I went to Spain to live. I felt that, just going outside, having mountains, forest nearby, I really need that. So when I get older, I really want to spend the last time in this earth closer to nature. Yeah, that's just a vision that I have, and yeah, let's hope that will happen. Yeah,
I like that, Bruno. Thank you so much for your time.
Much.
I really appreciate it. I want to thank all of you for watching this podcast. Make sure you press like and subscribe, and never forget, it's all on loan. So continue to reach for the stars because you're too blessed de-stress.